Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about Bodhi Rook in Rogue One. So Bodhi Rook in Rogue One is specifically he is the person that Galen Erso, he's a cargo pilot for the Empire, and Galen Erso tasks him with getting a message to Saw Gerrera, and tells him about the plans and sets into motion, unveiling the trigger trap that Galen Erso has built into the Death Star. Bodhi Rook is a great character. Actually, he's one of the characters that I really felt I would like to have seen more of in the film, and I'm actually very eager to see more of Bodhi Rook in additional content. So. Now, one of the things, actually, I would love to see more about Bodhi Rook in the new Marvel Star Wars comic books or in novels, maybe even additional films, things like that. I really liked his character a lot. Also, I just wanted to point out he was played by Riz Ahmed. Riz Ahmed is kind of a rising star right now, and I think there's a very good reason for that. He did a great job with acting for this character. It was really, really excellent portrayal. So I very much enjoyed Bodhi Rook. Today, specifically what I want to talk about is why did Bodhi Rook not pilot in the film? Okay? So there was multiple times where Bodhi Rook is with Rogue One before Rogue One is named Rogue One. Okay? So there's, pre-naming the Rogue One team are together, and Bodhi Rook is there in a shuttle, and he is not piloting, even while piloting is being done, right? And I thought this was a really important part of the movie, and the reason why is I think there's very good reasons for it, right? So the reason why is, so let's talk about it. So Bodhi Rook is a cargo pilot. He is a pilot all over. He labels himself as a pilot, right? He has those goggles. He's constantly telling people he's a pilot. Everybody knows he's a pilot, right? So the biggest thing is, I remember when they are on the planet and they're going down, they're about to crash land on the planet where Galen Erso meets Orson Krennic, and they actually kill all the engineers for the Death Star, right? I think that planet is Edu. So, so basically, there's this point where you see Bodhi Rook, and he is talking to K2SO. And he's like, go up, go down, you have to stay low. And he's telling him everything he needs to know. He's telling this droid everything he needs to know to pilot the plane, to pilot the starship, right? And I was like, this is really weird. Why is this here, right? So I thought about it, right? So I think there's a really specific reason. I'm going to say that in about 1 minute. But before that, I'm going to say the reasons that I think other people would think. So one of the things is I think what they would do is Bodhi Rook is saying, hey, actually the reason why they wouldn't let Bodhi Rook pilot is he is an Imperial, right? And they don't trust him yet. But I don't think that's the case. Cassian Andor is already dealing with Jyn Erso. Jyn Erso is known to be crazy dangerous, right? Like, I love K2SO's line of, do you want to know what the odds of her shooting you in the back with the blaster you gave her? It's high. It's very high. One of my favorite lines in the whole film. So, basically, and constantly, Bodhi is saying, you can trust me, right? So, my point is, I don't think Cassian felt that they had anything to fear from Bodhi. So that wasn't the reason that he wasn't piloting. I think the reason that he wasn't piloting is they are starting something in Star Wars. Tony Gilroy and the writers for Rogue One are starting something in Star Wars that needs to be started. And that is the conversation about automation of manual jobs, right? Now, generally, people would think of being a pilot as a skilled job. But the reality is, it's not a knowledge worker job. It's actually a laborer job, in my opinion. And the reason why is you have to physically be in that space. You have to use your physical talents to physically fly that starship, right? And so, and honestly, man, if you think about Star Wars, holy cows, Poe Dameron and all these, starship jockeys. This is very physical work, right? At minimum, you need high dexterity, right? Especially because every time anybody's, flying something that we're looking at in Star Wars, they're getting shot at, right? So I believe that what we're looking at here, where we're seeing Bodhi Rook telling a droid how to fly a starship, we are seeing commentary from the Star Wars writers about the automation of manual labor jobs, right? And I think this is important, and I'm really glad they're starting to open this up, right? Because K2SO, man, you want to talk about Mary Sue. I think K2SO may be the new Mary Sue. One, I love K2SO. He's hysterically funny. Alan Tudyk did a great job with him. But, he's a little too powerful, right? He's built like a Wookiee, right? He has the power and speed of a Wookiee. But then at the same time, his specialty is strategic analysis or strategic planning. I think it was strategic planning. Very strange, right? So, and then he uses a blaster, and he's an absolute deadeye. He's able to shoot down almost anything he fires at. He's able to take laser blast after laser blast. And in addition to that, he can pilot. So he's an awesome pilot, right? Now, that's a lot, right? And honestly, the Star Wars writers are dead on correct. There is a lot to fear about robots, about macros, and anything that does anything in an automated way, right? They are a massive danger to manual laborers. And it is my opinion, and I'm bringing this out because I believe Star Wars has always been about politics, race, and culture, right? And so I believe the writers are opening up this discussion, and I'll throw it out here. So one, in my opinion, if you are an American citizen, you should not, at this point, right, as quickly as possible, you should transition out of manual labor. And in my opinion, people in America should really not encourage their children to go into jobs that are primarily manual labor. And the reason why is, one, I think those jobs are incredibly valuable, right? They really need, now I believe now we can fill those jobs. There's a way to do that, okay? But if you're an American citizen, I just don't think that's what you spend your time on. And in reality, and the reason why is we should value those jobs. They are incredibly valuable. They're incredibly important. The people who do them are wonderful people, and they should be honored. But they're not. They are not. And that is not going to change in our culture anytime soon, right? And and that's just a reality, right? If you're in the water and you're up to your neck, right? You don't invite people, and the water's rising. You don't invite people in with you, right? Manual labor jobs are going away quickly. I saw a terrifying article the other day, which was about Amazon, right? And Amazon Go stores, right? These are stores where they just give you a key fob. You walk into the store, right? And you pick up anything you want on the shelf. And when you pick that thing up off the shelf weighs. It also has a trigger on a little pod. It says, hey, this just got picked up. You just grab it, you walk out of the store, and it automatically debits you, right? That completely gets rid of the cashier, right? Do you know there are thousands, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if there's over 1 million jobs in America that are cashiers, right? That technology exists right now. In 2 to 3 years. So what we're saying is already that job is is obsolete, and we don't need to have people do that anymore, right? And so, we really need to. And so basically, when you saw Bodhi Rook sitting next to K2SO telling him how to fly, you're looking at our modern reality, which is, bots are going to do every physical job. And so as soon as possible, everybody needs to move over to knowledge worker jobs. Design, coding, information technology. Basically, we just, if you're an American citizen, you really should not be relying on a manual labor job to be there for you even 5 or 10 years from now. And if you go into that field, maybe those jobs will be there, but they will be paid minimally, and this is very sad, right? And I really feel we need to really start having honest conversations about this, because I think right now we are telling people, oh, these are valuable jobs. We're telling them with our words, but constantly you are seeing people being underpaid and ending up in careers where there's nowhere to go. And I have some people I care about, people who are very bright, really sociable people, and talented people. And they have these manual labor jobs where you stand in one place and you ring up people for purchases, right? And even far more manual than that. And they're frustrated and they're wondering why their paychecks are small, and they're getting more and more frustrated with these jobs, because the reality is, it's a bad situation. So I think that they're going to start talking about this a lot in Star Wars. And so this was the opening conversation in Star Wars dealing with a real issue of our day. Now, I think it's really interesting. One of the things I love about Star Wars, it's always dealt with issues of our day. And I think that's important, right? And I also want to be clear. I don't think that people who do knowledge worker jobs are better people than people who do manual labor jobs. I mean, your value as a human being comes from a very distinct source, and it does not have anything to do with what you do for work. And when I say that people should start moving away from manual labor jobs, that is only because this is America. I want everybody to have what I have, to have, good labor and be able to have good work, all right? And to be able to prosper and grow new skill sets, and to be able to get, a fair wage for what they do, and to be an important, valued part of a team, right? And honestly, I think that's hard right now if you're a manual laborer, and it's going to get way, way more difficult in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. And it might start as early as next summer, like where it just becomes even more hard than it is right now. So, one, I just want to make it clear, I do have incredible respect for anyone and everyone who does manual labor jobs. But my point is, if you're out there and you have one of those jobs, you should really be picking up as many knowledge worker skills as you possibly can, and be getting up that chain, so that what you do cannot be done in an automated way by a machine, because those jobs are just they're evaporating as we speak. And that's another thing is, a lot of times cultures talk with two voices. And I think right now you hear a lot of people saying we need to raise the minimum wage, right? But the reality is that hasn't happened. And boy, man, take a look at the current situation. It does not look like that's going to happen within the next 4 years to me, right? So, it's really, the only reason I'm saying this is it's really critical, in my opinion, that those people begin the journey of getting to a place where their work is valued. So try not to be in Bodhi Rook's situation where you're sitting next to K2SO telling K2SO how to fly the starship, right? You need to be I would say like Cassian or like Jin, where, basically, especially Cassian is he is a modern worker, right? He has multiple skill sets. He is a hustler. He works with urgency. His value, Cassian is a perfect example, right? So he's out there in the trenches. He's doing the dirty work for the rebellion, right? But he also, just talks with Mon Mothma. He talks with, all the higher ups, right? He uses his brain. His brain is more valuable than his back, right? The labor of his brain the work of his brain is more valuable than the labor of his back, right? And that is where we all need to be, and it's just critical. And I understand that this is difficult for people to hear, and I hope people don't mishear me, right? Because the reality is, the only reason I'm saying this is I already see people trapped under this weight, and this weight is this myth that we're still telling people that that if you have a manual labor job and the majority of what you do is manual labor, that you're going to be able to earn a living and have everything you need, and things are going to work out for you. And I just, I really feel at this point that is wholeheartedly a myth, and that really needs to go away. And when I saw Bodhi Rook talking to K2SO saying, go up, go down, I was like, oh my gosh, that is the fate of many, many American workers who are doing manual labor. And, and basically you got to get yourself where Cassian Andor is. And it's just my 2 cents there. Take care, everybody.